Welcome, everyone. We are just going to give a few minutes at the beginning here for everyone to hop on to the session and join before we get fully started. And just a few more minutes for those last few people to kind of hop on in and join us today. I think we have a good group now, so we can get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren, and I'm an Enterprise Customer Success Manager with Jotform. Welcome back to another season of our Lunch and Learn series. While school may be out for the summer, things are just getting started over here, and we're so happy you're joining us for what's shaping up to be our best season yet. If you have not already, please be sure you're registered to be notified of future Lunch and Learn sessions at jotform.com/enterprise/lunch and learn sessions. For today, I'm so excited to be taking you on a journey into the wonderful world of widgets. Try saying that 5 times fast. I'll be highlighting just a few of our most popular form widgets amongst our enterprise users. If you have not used widgets before, there's no time to start like the present. Maybe your form needs call for calculating values like an average score or an age based on an entry of a date of birth. Then the form calculation widget will be perfect for you. Perhaps you're looking to have fields filled in automatically based on the entry of a unique access code. Well, I think you'll really like the spreadsheet to form widget. If you're hoping to display a table of static information on your form, the data grid widget will ensure that these values are included on your form in a searchable and easy to read format. The terms and conditions widget, another user favorite, will add a checkbox onto your form requiring that the respondent agree to your organization's rules and regulations before fully submitting their form. Or finally, you may find that the Take Photo widget will be your go-to. This tool will utilize a respondent's device's camera to easily capture an image in real time to include alongside a form submission. Did any of these catch your eye, or should I say ear? Then stay tuned to see how these widgets can be configured. And one last thing before we get officially started, we're going to be covering a lot in our time together today. We'll record and post this video on our YouTube channel for your review after the session has concluded. And we'll save some time at the end of the presentations for questions specific to the widgets highlighted today as well. So without further ado, let's hop into the system and talk all things widgets. When thinking about form building, there's typically tons of different kinds of information to collect. While our form elements will allow for the collection of basic information, you may find the need for more interactive or dynamic fields for both an easier experience for your respondent and for your organization to collect all of the necessary information. This is where widgets come in. Widgets create form fields or other functionality that you may not have thought would be possible within a form building tool. Using widgets can really take your form to the next level. Our robust list of widgets can be found right here on our form builder and is included in your Jotform Enterprise server by default. You do have options to customize this list for all of your server users via the admin console. And for more information on that specific ability, check out our previously recorded Lunch and Learn session all about the admin console. When you're ready to add a widget to your form, you can click to add or drag and drop it in place, just as easy as all of our other form elements. To take a closer look at what any given widget can do, you can select the eye icon next to the widget name to learn more and see a demo of the selected widget. Speaking of demos, let's take a look at one of our most popular and arguably most versatile widgets, the form calculation widget. At its core, the form calculation widget can assist your process by calculating values entered on the form by your respondents. Adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing fields are just the start of what this widget can do. It can also perform functionality that you may find useful, such as calculating an age, calculating a date, or calculating a duration of time. But instead of just telling you about how wonderful this widget is, I'll go ahead and show you. Starting with basic mathematic functionality, I'll use this survey form as an example. In this form, I'm having my respondents answer a series of questions using our scale rating element. Each of their ratings will have a numerical value when answered out of 10. Using the form calculation widget that I've already set up for today's example, I have added all of the scale rating fields together, including them in my calculation using this blue Add Field button, and divided it by the total number of questions to get my average score, which will automatically display at the bottom of the form. If you don't want the score to display to the respondents, you can also hide this field as well in the Field Properties menu. And here's what that calculation looks like in action. Having received a range of scores, my average is calculated here at the bottom. As I mentioned, displaying the score automatically. This field is dynamic as well, meaning that if I were to go back and modify one of my scores, my average will change automatically, giving my organization the most accurate possible information for our own reporting. Moving on to another example of our form calculation widget is one I previously mentioned, calculating an age. In this example, I have a volunteer application in which I am asking the respondent for their date of birth using the date picker element. Right beneath it, you may notice another hidden date field displaying today's date. The third and final field needed is, of course, the form calculation widget, right here and also hidden on my form. Going into that form calculation widget, you can calculate age by taking today's date, my hidden field, and subtracting the volunteer's entered date of birth, but that won't give us the numerical result we're hoping for. So we need to add a function to properly calculate the age of our volunteer. To add a function like the floor one I've used for this calculation, you can click the purple function button right here in the lower right-hand corner of the calculator. This will contain all of the different mathematical functions this calculator tool is able to automatically perform when configured on your form. For the age calculation, I am taking my hidden date field that will autofill to today's date and subtracting the respondent's date of birth, then dividing that number by 365 to fully calculate the applicant's age in years. Using the floor functionality will allow this to be a full number and round up for the most accurate reporting. Now I can leave it like this to simply calculate the age and return that information alongside the volunteer submission, or I can apply conditional logic to this equation. So here's what that configuration looks like. Let's say my organization can only accept volunteers 16 or older. If someone is not 16, I don't want them to be able to submit the application at all. Because I've already added the form calculation to my form to collect their age, as well as a paragraph element that displays a message letting them know that they cannot continue the application due to their age, I can use a show hide condition to achieve this functionality. In this show hide condition, I ask the system to only display the message if the value or the applicant's age calculation is less than 16, and added a separate action to also hide the remainder of the fields as well as the submit button. Let's see how that condition looks on our form. If I've entered a birth date putting me at an age greater than 16, I can see all of the form fields as normal. However, if I were to enter a birth date calculating to less than 16 years old, I would see the warning message and the rest of the fields, including that submit button, would be hidden, preventing me as the volunteer from completing the form. This is just one of a near endless way to use conditional formatting alongside a calculation to dynamically alter the form's functionality. The dynamic nature of the form calculation widget does not stop there. Did you know you can also calculate text? Recently, while chatting with one of our enterprise users, I discovered an awesome use case I want to share with you today. In this organization, the HR department was responsible for filling out a checklist for each new hire. As a part of onboarding the new employee, they would need to create their organization's email address, which all follow the same format: first name dot last name at their organization's domain. To automate the process of generating this email, they used the form calculation widget. Here's how. When adding a field and clicking on this 0 through 9 option, I can change it to A to Z. This will allow the widget to use text in its overall equation. For this example, I have set up the basic email formula, first name dot last name at organization.com. Now, when my HR team is filling out the form and the employee's name is entered, the email address will automatically populate. So I will go ahead and enter the last name here. And that generated that email, which, having this automation in place, makes this previously arduous process a bit more simple and streamlined. On the process of streamlining work, let's take a look at a widget that will populate responses on a form based on the entry of an access key, the spreadsheet to form widget. For this use case, let's change it up a little and talk about inventory. In my organization, we have various parts with unique ID numbers. This spreadsheet is a comprehensive list of all of the part specifications that need to be added to a form submission. With such a comprehensive list, it would be difficult for the employee to memorize all of the unique specifications for each part. So instead, I can ask them to enter the ID number of the part and have the information autofill for them. This is where that handy dandy spreadsheet to form widget comes in. I've added the spreadsheet to form widget to the top of my form here and uploaded my file directly into the widget. There are various customizations you can make in this widget, including the designation of the access code column, in my case, the part ID. You can also modify the wording of the button text and associated messaging to best resonate with your process. When building the rest of the form out apart from the widget, you want to make sure that the prompts for each element match the column headers of the spreadsheet exactly. For my example, I have taken each of my column headers and entered them as various fields on my form. If there are any changes to my inventory information, I can easily replace this file. And as long as the elements are titled correctly, the updated information will automatically map to these same fields. Now, when I go to enter my part ID and click the button, it will automatically fill in with the information in each field for me. How easy is that? Continuing this use case example, we can also further eliminate user error by setting up the spreadsheet to form widget to fill in conditionally based on another field. Here's another version of that same form, except in this one, I've provided my form respondents a dropdown with all of the part IDs for them to select, so they don't need to worry about typing it directly into the widget. This will eliminate the possibility of misentering the ID and potentially be given the incorrect information. In the widget settings, I can then set up the actual widget to be auto-filled by condition and also run in the background, which will hide the field from the form entirely. With this configuration, the respondent does not need to take any action apart from simply selecting the part ID from the dropdown to in turn autofill the remainder of the form fields. To set up this condition, I've used an update calculate field condition and set it to copy the value from the dropdown into the widget. Because I had made the previous adjustments onto the widget itself, once this conditional logic is set, this process is smooth sailing. Let's see how that looks for an end user. Selecting an option from this dropdown will now autofill the necessary fields as they had when the part ID was manually entered in our last example. This widget is working behind the scenes and the form filler is none the wiser. They simply see this lovely end result and can continue with the submission of their form without stress. While in the theme of this use case, maybe autofilling the field in my previous example doesn't exactly make sense for the information that the form fillers need. If that's the case, let me introduce you to the data grid widget. The data grid widget will display a searchable table directly onto the form that you can customize with your own information. I've taken the information from that same spreadsheet, reformatted it into separate comma-separated values, and added it to the data grid widget for easy access for my respondents. As I mentioned, this grid is searchable, making it easy for my end user to find exactly what they need. For example, if they wanted to find all of the parts that are considered in good condition, they can enter that in the search parameter in the box here to filter those results. Similarly, I can enter Department 3 in the search bar to filter all of the listed items to that specific parameter. Having this data right here on the page in an easy to read format makes filling out a form easy and eliminates the need for the respondents to reference multiple different web pages or files to obtain the necessary information in filling out the form. Moving on to another widget brings us to a brand new use case, a contest entry. In my example, I'm entering a contest to win a pretty awesome prize of an all expenses paid tropical vacation. I hope I win. I filled in all of the required information for this sweepstakes, but it's not letting me submit. Before entering, I have to agree to the contest's terms and conditions. Makes sense with the prize this extravagant. Good thing this form has the terms and conditions widget for me to review before submitting. Let's take a look at the setup of this widget now. Adding the terms and conditions widget will enable you to have the terms and conditions displayed as an external link for a form filler to agree to before submission. By default, when this widget is added to a form, it is set to required, meaning that the form filler must check the box before completing their submission. The setup of this widget, as with the others we've looked at today, is customizable to your individual need. You can input your external link in the field here to easily link the terms for your respondent's review. You can also change up the text if the phrase terms and conditions doesn't entirely match your use case. In this example, maybe I could rephrase this to contest rules or another similar sentiment. Additionally, you can control the way that once accepted, this information appears within your submission information. Since I'm offering the prize of the century, I mean, who wouldn't want to be jet-setted to a tropical destination? I have a lot of submissions. Let's take a look at how the terms and conditions field appears on my submission table so I can ensure all of my contestants are compliant with my contest rules. As you can see here, my designated phrase, in this case, accepted, appears under the terms and conditions column, letting me know that this specific entrant has agreed to the contest rules with their submission. This field can also be mapped in the notification and autoresponder emails, as well as the PDF editor and the inbox, as further collateral proving that the entrant did in fact check the box before submitting their entry. And finally, to finish off our session today, let's take a look at the Take Photo widget. There are many different reasons why someone would need to take a photo in real time to include alongside their submission. Some examples I've gathered and worked on with our enterprise users have been employee ID photos, insurance or ID card verification, photo scavenger hunts, and many, many more. But for today, let's use an inspection form as an example. In this form, the inspector not only needs to provide information on the rental unit they're inspecting, but also take photos to correlate with the notes and scoring they are giving. To accomplish this easily and efficiently, I've added the Take Photo widget to my form. In this form, I have actually added several of the Take Photo widgets correlating to each area being inspected. The visibility of these fields is dependent on conditions and will only show if that section is selected as being inspected on the form. Organizing these as separate widgets on the form will ensure that each area of the unit's photos are separate and organized. So let's see this widget in action. Since I'm currently using my device's camera for our time together today, I went ahead and pre-recorded this portion on my phone to give you an idea of what this may look like for an inspector out in the field. As you can see in the recording, I'm asked to give the form access to my device's camera. Once done, it will default to the front-facing camera. If needed, I can flip the camera to the back camera and snap my photo using the Take Photo button. If the photo did not turn out as I expected, I can also opt to retake the photo as many times as I need to ensure that I've captured the right shot. Additionally, if you choose not to give access to the device's camera, it will also allow you to upload an already taken photo if needed. I have a quick view of that here. Easy, convenient, and efficient are just a few of the words that come to mind when thinking of this useful tool. As the admin user or licensed user in Jotform Enterprise with access to this form's submission data, I can see these photos taken by my respondents in my submission table. With each photo taken in its own individual column, correlating directly to the location in which the photo was taken. Similarly, you can also see these photos in the inbox alongside the rest of the submission data. This makes for an incredibly easy review of the different inspection areas. Finally, you can customize a submission PDF in the PDF editor for a full review of the report, including the submission information and all of the attached and taken photos. You can download these PDFs on a submission by submission basis or en masse for ease of distribution and filing within your organization. I know that was a lot. To recap, today we took a look at form calculations, filling form data from a spreadsheet document, displaying data directly on a form in an easy-to-read table, linking needed rules and regulations to a form that must be agreed to before a submission, and the ability to include a newly captured photo alongside a form submission. All of these tools are really only the beginning of the functionality of widgets for your forms. Even though I know you all love listening to me talk about and show these widgets, I do encourage you to take what we've discussed today and apply it to your own system to see how you can further improve the efficiency and dynamic nature of your process. Whew, is anyone else feeling all widgeted out? I hope not, because not only is this just a small sampling of our extremely robust list of widgets, it's also part one of a two-part series for our Lunch and Learn viewers. Join us again July 24th to go over another set of popular widgets, their use cases, and unique customizations. With all that being said, if you have any questions specific to the widgets we discussed today, please feel free to type them into the chat or the Q&A if you have not already. It looks like we had a few questions come in, so I will just start at the top. For the spreadsheet to form widget, is it possible to upload the file one time but use it over multiple forms instead of re-uploading the form multiple times for each form? So each form will have its own version of the widget on the form itself, and the file would need to be uploaded each time the widget is put on a form. So there's not really a way for it to be saved on one form and then applied to future forms without re-uploading the file itself directly on the widget. Is there an option, or is there a way for users to select an item from the grid to apply to a submission, such as they search for the item in the grid, select it from the grid, and this applies to another field? Not in the example widget that I showed, but definitely tune into part 2. I'll be talking about selection-based widgets, and there definitely will be a good use of a selection table that they can use that can populate that data into another field. You can you take more than one photo? Not with the take photo widget. So you can take one photo, but you can have multiple take photo widgets on your form, like I used in my example today. There was a question. Instead of the spreadsheet to form widget, could we pull a SQL database? So not with the spreadsheet to form widget. However, I do encourage you to contact our support team or your sales representative, because there are options to potentially work through a use case for that. And then for the widgets with spreadsheets, how easy is it to update the spreadsheet if it changes often? How does that affect the table submission? So the actual table submissions are tied to the fields themselves. So if the fields are staying on the form and you're just updating the file, the previously submitted information won't be affected. It's very easy to change the file in the widget. You just press like remove file, upload file, and then include the new one. And as long as the column headers on your file match the prompts on the individual like questions, it will just map as normal. So all of the previously entered submission data will still be there, even if it was entered from a previously referenced spreadsheet. And then the next question is, when is part 2? July 24th will be part 2 for the widget discussion. And then just a couple of other questions. that I wanted to mention, one commonly that we get asked is, can you capture a video in the take photo widget? No, it would only be photos. However, and someone mentioned this as well in a note to us, is that you could also use the file upload element on a mobile device, which will allow you on, again, a mobile device or tablet to capture photo or video. But that same functionality wouldn't be possible on like a desktop computer or anything like that. That would require a manual file upload. And then just another quick question. If you don't see a widget that matches your functionality, we're constantly looking for feedback from our users on how we can continue to improve the form builder's functionality in the widgets list. So I do encourage you to open a ticket with our support team with the specifics of what you're looking for, so we can get that feature request in front of our engineering team for their consideration in future system updates. And then just checking marketing, is there any questions from the YouTube live stream?
Nothing over from the YouTube live stream at this time.
Awesome, thank you. And thanks again to everyone for being with me here today. In our session together on June 26th, Michael will be chatting about all things conditions and how conditional logic can customize a form's functionality based on how it is being filled out. It's going to be a good one and you won't want to miss it. If you have any questions that we did not get to today, please reach out to our enterprise sales team or to our awesome customer support team if you're already an enterprise user. You can find more lunch and learns, webinars, walkthroughs, and quick video guides also on our YouTube channel and our website. We will have some great lunch and learn sessions coming up that will build upon each other. So please ensure that you're registered for these sessions at jotform.com/enterprise/lunch and learn sessions. And I am looking forward to seeing you again at our next session. Thank you again. And